Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now October 21st of 2025, and given that ever since the Charlie Kirk assassination on September 10th, and most recently with the No Kings protest on October 18th, we have seen a major shift within Hollywood where a lot of actors, actresses, writers, and directors are basically using those two moments in time to really just use that as an anti-Trump messaging campaign and to press it onto the general public. This is exactly why fans are walking away from specific properties of many different studios out there. Studios like, for example, Disney, Universal, and among others out there like Netflix, for example, and more. What's interesting, though, has a lot more to do with the fact that you have more and more actors, pretty much gathering together, saying such inflammatory things that are continuously dividing the country as we speak. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new, and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, Robert De Niro, we know that he's been going off the rails recently, saying some of the worst things yet possible, whether it's on mainstream media or on the street in front of a large crowd of people during the No Kings protest and more, and already a lot of consequences are actually coming Robert De Niro's way. We know that there's a lot of things going on right now within Hollywood where a lot of studios are very desperate. They are desperate to actually save their image, to save whatever reputation that they have left at this point, or whatever how much image they have left, positively speaking, and that's really being very generous to actually say anything like that, because a lot of these studios, mind you, they did actually spew out a lot of political propaganda within their films. Now, interestingly enough, ever since the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and most recently the No Kings protest, multiple Hollywood celebrities have been going off the rails about Charlie and the Trump administration, one of which involves Robert De Niro, yet again, getting into serious trouble after he called members of the Trump administration as Nazis just recently, and other very harsh words just a couple of days ago. Already multiple studios are beginning to officially blacklist Robert De Niro now in an effort to save their image, one of which involves a major studio such as Netflix, where they immediately canceled an entire project that they were working on with Robert De Niro that was going to be yet another, get this, political movie, where this time De Niro was going to play a high-ranking politician that was aimed to reflect on the Trump administration in some way, shape, or form. This film was suddenly scrapped by the two CEOs that run Netflix, both Greg Peters and Ted Sarandos, and already the majority of the Netflix board of directors are now in full agreement to never hire Robert De Niro again after his inflammatory comments toward the Trump administration on MSNBC that even they, Netflix felt, this was way too extreme to handle to associate with him ever again. This comes well after Netflix worked with Robert De Niro on past projects over the years, where the recent blacklisting isn't just associated with Netflix, mind you, but now even Apple Studios decided to blacklist De Niro altogether after they fired him from one project a couple of weeks ago that they were working on that was going to focus on yet another mob boss story. Though at the time he wasn't blacklisted, now Apple Studios also made a sudden shift by blacklisting Robert De Niro after just calling multiple members of Trump's administration Nazis. To make matters worse for De Niro is that both Paramount and Universal are going through tensions right now for Meet the Fockers 4, which is going to be called Focker and Law, by the way, and executives are already arguing of drastically reducing De Niro's role in the film as a first step, since he already shot some scenes for the film. However, discussions are now underway and active of getting rid of De Niro altogether as his character in Meet the Fockers 4, which is called Focker and Law. However, this decision is not final as of yet, though these discussions immediately started after De Niro's toxic comments and how both Netflix and Apple Studios took action immediately to show a level of responsibility on their end. Now, already Robert De Niro and his agent are desperately trying to actually reverse the course of Netflix and Apple Studios and what they did, and they believe that what happened was unfair. De Niro is already actively fighting both studios to get his projects back on the table and back on track and to reinstate his status at those studios. Now guys, let me say one thing about Robert De Niro. Now, this is a guy that will not stop, and he will never stop. I've made this point ultimately clear time and time again, and we all saw exactly what he did there on MSNBC, really saying some of the worst things you even imagine. And now studios are beginning to say, alright, this may have crossed the line. Not all studios, but some like Netflix and Apple Studios at least have half a brain to a degree. In fact, I'm very shocked that Netflix would decide to do this, but that's saying a lot. But we know there's a lot of things going on right now with the two CEOs, Greg Peters and Ted Sarandos, that's really trying to improve the Netflix platform, because they have been dealing with a lot of people leaving in droves to a degree because of the actual higher prices that are about to actually come into play for the different plans that you can get, either monthly or annual, or ones with or without ads. And what's interesting about this, though, is that Robert De Niro is still actively trying to get a lot of work. This is a guy, mind you, that's in his 80s, and he did openly say a couple of weeks ago that he has no plans to stop acting, he has no plans to retire. And if you're going to just play the same exact thing over and over again, like a mob boss, or now the new thing from Robert De Niro is to embrace playing a politician. That's what Netflix was going to do, and that ultimately was scrapped because of his most recent comments. And the fact that they were going to make a project that was going to reflect on the Trump administration in some way, I think it just goes to show you that Netflix is just as guilty as Robert De Niro, because they were engaging in all of that nonsense that nobody wants to see anymore. People just want entertainment, they want an escape, they want some breathing room from the real world. That's what entertainment is all about. So, moving onwards, now, Robert De Niro is reportedly now clinging to whatever roles that he can get that's left, since he openly revealed that he doesn't plan to retire, like I said before, anytime soon. With more studios starting to blacklist De Niro, one by one, very slowly, other studios are beginning to look at the behaviors of other actors toward the Trump administration and what names they are using toward members of that administration. And this is a thing that people have grown very exhausted over. Whether you're for or against Trump, it doesn't matter. People are just very tired of all of it. And after what Robert De Niro did on MSNBC and other mainstream media platforms, people can really just see through the mask of Robert De Niro. In fact, it's not even a mask. I mean, this is who he really is. He really is a very angry, soulless individual that really doesn't care about the minds of others or fans that follow him. He doesn't really realize that when he's saying those words and saying those things, a lot of people that are actual fans of Robert De Niro so happen to also be fans of President Trump, and they're all walking away, and they're not supporting him anymore. This is exactly why the Alto Knights failed. This is exactly why a lot of people boycotted his other movie, I believe it was on Netflix, 0 Day, which is why he got that, nickname Robert De Zero. We all know that there's a lot of things going on here, but one thing is for certain about Robert De Niro right now is that he's dealing with a lot of consequences, and it seems like that he doesn't really care to a degree to apologize to the general public. He doesn't care about his fans. All he cares about is getting roles, getting money, and that's about it. That's all it is for him, I think. And when you're looking at someone like Robert De Niro, this is exactly why actors should not act like politicians or political commentators, because you alienate your audience, or at the very worst, you wipe out your entire fan base, because a lot of people could be very well following you that happen to be Trump supporters. But overall, I would like to hear what you all have to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I'll catch you guys later.